Welcome to the I Am Radio TV network. Today we are pleased to present a new premiere show, Let's Get Real, with your host, Jeffrey Miller. Now get ready to go. Interactive. Okay. Welcome to the I Am. Welcome to the I Am. Well, we've got a technical difficulty, folks. Here we are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, apologies for a minor technical glitch. Sometimes things happen that way for a reason. We're gonna keep it that way. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Jeffrey Miller. I'm the host of the show, and this is the Let's Get Real show on the I Am Radio TV network. And an interesting thing happened a couple of weeks ago. I have been doing radio broadcasting for probably about 5 years. And I gave it up for a little while and for reasons I could get into later. And then I all of a sudden, said, I enjoyed that. It was fun. We introduced a lot of great people and we had some enjoyment. And I said, let's get back to it. And I found a platform that could put the network, I Am Radio TV network, back on air, but not radio. And that was an interesting thing. Actually, live stream TV style, just like we're doing right now. And here we are today. And I have a very special guest that I am honored to bring on board and say hello to. And she's going to talk to you a lot about what she does and who she is. But I want to start off with, her name is Dr. Amy Novotny. She founded the PABR with the PABR Institute with the mission to provide pain, stress, and anxiety relief to those who seek a naturalistic form of treatment when other treatment methods have fallen short. Her unique approach comes from experience treating in a variety of settings and a wide range of patient populations over the last 10 years. Her background in orthopedics, sports, geriatrics, balance disorders, nerve injuries, and most recently, chronic pain and influences from coursework at the Postural Restorative Institute gave her a foundation to develop this treatment method to address a wide variety of painful and restrictive conditions. She's also co-authored a #1 best-selling book, Don't Quit, Stories of Persistence, Courage, and Faith, which shares her journey on how and why she developed the PABR method, the PABR method. Her ability to speak French and Spanish has also allowed her to communicate with and help various clients from all over the world. She has a variety of interests, including running 40-plus marathons. Wow. Ultra marathons, I might add, including 200-milers. Wow. Completing an Ironman triathlon. She's also a renowned photographer. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to our first premiere show of Let's Get Real, Dr. Amy. How are you?
Hi, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for having me on this morning, this afternoon. And I am
all over the world.
Exactly, depending on where you are. And I'm just very happy to be here and very honored to be your first guest on this new show. I'm very excited and I love having conversations with people and just getting real. So this is perfect. I thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. People said, you have a show, Interactive Interviews. What's that all about? I said, well, that's typically what I love to interview people. I love to talk and get to know people that have been there and done that, and that really recognize the need, want, and desire to help other people. Yeah. We're creatures that are supposed to do that, to help other people. And a lot of people just say, well, it's all me, when it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be us and the we. In other words, like the servant with a towel on your arm. I always looked at it that way and say, what may I do to help you, to serve you today, which is going to help you with a a gift, so to speak, to be able to gift that to somebody. And what you do is absolutely amazing. And I want to get into that because we had the pleasure of meeting through a very great mutual friend,
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Wilson. Now, a lot of people say, Kyle Wilson. Who's Kyle Wilson? Kyle Wilson was the 18-year business manager for Mr. Jim Rohn. He's also been business manager for many, many, many others. He is the guy that I call it the cheeks in the seats when they did events. And Kyle and I have been friends for over 5 years. We've met twice. And actually, like 3 weeks ago now, Amy, I think it was, there was a memory and marketing, which is supposed to be a live event in Philadelphia because of which we're going to get into, talking about Get Real, what's going on in this pandemic. What's been going on, but it was supposed to be a live event, and they decided, he and Ron White, his partner, Mr. Memory, said, what are we going to do? We've got to do something. So they decided they'd bring it online, and I am so happy they did, because otherwise I don't know when we would have met. So this is synchronicity, because we did. So hey, Kyle and Ron, we want to give you both a shout out because you deserve it. And here we are, and this is fantastic. And we actually have in comments already. Let's see. Hey, look at this. My good friend Tracy Morgan, one of my brothers. I call Tracy my brother because he's on a cancer journey, as I am, with prostate cancer, which is something we'll talk about later. Tracy, great to see you. Thanks for being here, brother, and we thank you for sharing that show is on today. We really appreciate you. So, interestingly enough, a lot of things have happened since this past 2 or 3 weeks. Amy, Dr. Amy, I mean, we got to meet, we got to have a chat. You, during our mastermind, which was the week following the live 2-day event, we had a 2-day mastermind. I mean, folks, this was amazing. We got to actually meet and speak with, oh gosh, Mr. Les Brown. Mr. Glenn Morshower, and the list goes on and on. We had some great inner circle mastermind folks, ladies and gentlemen, that I had not met before. I had heard their names, got to see them here live and in color, and get to chat with each other, get to hear their stories. Well, I got to hear Amy's story, so to speak. I'm going to call it the story for the moment, Amy.
That's fine.
Dr. Amy was invited to come on by Kyle and give us all a relaxation to get us going, kind of. And it wasn't just, I thought it was, this is going to be a nice relaxation. But she got into doing some breath work that I was like, wait a minute. Now, I want to preface for a minute, ladies and gentlemen, why am I going to get to this right now? And I'm going to tell you why, because this is going to get real. We're going to get real right now. I am since July 2017, I was diagnosed with advanced stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer. I was given 6 to 12 months to live. And I just said to Amy, I said, I'm looking like a ghost today. I don't know what's with the lighting isn't so great today, or it's too bright or whatever. But, some people say, really? 6 to 12 months to live in 2017? Are you a ghost? Nope. I am here. I live in cults. This is the me. And I typically get exhausted as a result of medicines that I'm on for the prostate cancer in the afternoon, sometimes in the morning, after what I would think a great night's sleep. I just get wiped out. I've got to go lay down and go into a little bit of a state of relaxation. Well, Dr. Amy came on and did this technique, and I didn't think a thing of it. I just said, well, that's great. And I did it. I sat here and had my feet flat on the floor, and everything was wonderful. And the next thing you know, the day goes on. My computer had crashed. I put in an order immediately for a new computer and went and picked it up curbside. And luckily, with Florida has started to open up, but they won't let you in the stores. So I was able to buy a new computer. And my wife, Emily, and I, we even went out and got a fish fry dinner that Friday night. Got home, sat down, and said, I think I'm going to watch a program. I'm going to watch something decent. And she looked at me and says, are you feeling all right? I said, yeah. What do you mean, am I feeling all right? I feel great. I feel like Tony the Tiger. Great. And she said, well, what happened to you? I said, what do you mean, what happened to me? She says, I haven't seen you this alert and this was just at this time of the day. You've been going all day. You've been in that chair all day with a couple of breaks and a lunch break. What's going on? And I thought, and I said, oh, I know whose fault it is. It's Dr. Amy. She did it. And she said, what do you mean Dr. Amy did it? She's like, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? So I, at best I could, just been introduced to what it is you do, Dr. Amy.
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't even know how to explain it. All I knew is that I went through a whole day and never took a nap. I went through a whole day and didn't feel tired. I went through a whole evening and went out and bought a computer from BJ's at the pickup on the curb, and then went to a restaurant where it was only 25% occupancy, everybody was scattered, and had a lovely meal, had a nice fish fry, and came home and sat down and actually watched another hour program on the television. And all of a sudden, Emily had to ask me that question, what's up with you? So we're going to get into what's up with me, because I can tell you guys, and I'm going to get into this as we talk about Amy's history and backstory and everything about her, because we've got some time. And folks, do not be bashful. I'm going to put it right up here. Hold on now. Let me get some banners running here so we can, let's see. Let me go down the bottom here. This is fun stuff. I want to put it up right now. I'm going to have it run across the bottom, guys, so that you know how to get a hold of Dr. Amy during the show, okay? And I don't mean during the show. I mean after the show, because she's not going to answer you during the show, because she's here with me right now. So
Exactly.
we're going to have some fun. So I was looking, Amy, at you've got an amazing backstory. I mean, I am impressed. Okay, I'm serious. I mean, I am impressed. You graduated 2000, was it 2009? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, the end of 2008 is when I graduated with my doctorate, top of my class. Never gotten anything but an A in my entire life of schooling. So I was like, yes, made it all the way through. And it wasn't the A's, it was I wanted to learn and absorb as much as possible, because the thought of not applying myself well and possibly hurting someone or not providing the best care possible for someone in the future was just not an option in my mind. I'm like, I have to absorb. So yeah, so the end of 2008 is when I finished, and then beginning of 2009 is when I started my career.
Wow, it's fantastic. You were one of the top 3 or 4 schools in the United States, University of Delaware. That's huge. That's huge. And then you moved back to Arizona for like 5 years, I think, huh?
I moved back to Arizona, and actually that's where I was until 2018. And then I was hired by a world famous photographer for what I do and what I'm going to share today to keep him out of a knee replacement surgery and a rotator cuff surgery. So he had found out that I help people get out of knee replacement surgeries, and he knew someone who referred him to me. So he flew from Florida a couple times, and when I started getting rid of all his various body pains, he went home pain-free, then tripped and fell and busted up his shoulder, couldn't lift his arm up to here, and then he was like waist level. And then as soon as he came back, he'd gotten an MRI. It said several tendons were torn and he needed surgery. Everyone told me he needed surgery except a few of us. And by the time he left a couple days later, I got his arm all the way up overhead. He wasn't completely pain-free at that point. And so he said, let me hire you. I want to get to Antarctica in 6 months, and I need to be able to get there. This trip is a once in a lifetime trip. I need help. Can you coach me on a daily basis? I'll, provide room and board, and you just follow me and my girlfriend around the world. And I gave up my whole life and moved to Florida for a week, and then was traveling around the world for 6 months, and then came back and decided I'm going to start my own business, and away I've gone. So
wow, that's fantastic. I mean, to have that opportunity and to go to Antarctica to boot.
Yeah.
I mean, they say that's where the aliens live,
If by aliens you mean those cute little things right above
Well,
my
I
head,
was wondering. I was wondering
maybe
about
not.
those little. I was wondering about those cuties, and of course that gets into your artistic ability as well as a photographer. I mean,
Mhm.
renowned photographer. We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So you started implementing the techniques that you developed after working for the other center. Is that correct? Is that how you come
So
up with? Yeah.
yeah, so when I finished my doctoral program, I worked for a company for about 5 years and doing sports, orthopedics. I do vestibular treatment, so I work with people with dizziness, and I have extra training in that, so all different types of dizziness. And so at that time, I then shifted, became a director of another company, another clinic. And as the director, I started looking at breath work and how we have asymmetries in our body and how that impacts our mobility. And so that's when I started shifting. And as I was taking courses and learning about this, I practiced on myself first because I really believe that if I'm going to teach something and if I want someone else to learn something, I need to know how it feels first. I need to be able to perform it so that way I know and I can empathize with the person when they're frustrated, when they say, I can't feel this. Well, if I've gone through all of that, I can say, just wait, it may take a little bit more time and that flip will switch and you can feel it. And so as I started experimenting with breathing and feeling things about my body, I noticed my running started getting faster and faster and faster, and I didn't do any changes in my workout. And I'd been training for to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I had just, as I was learning the breathing, I just barely made it and qualified for the Boston Marathon. And a few months later, I was really hitting the breathing hard, and all of a sudden, I ran another race, and I had dropped 7 minutes off the time and felt even better than
Wow.
the other marathon. And if you've run marathons, dropping 7 minutes is a huge time to drop
It
off.
is huge. That
And
could be win or lose, actually.
it really can. And then again, a short few months later, another 7 minutes off my time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm flying through these races. And then, so besides just like working on the breathing, then I started figuring out that when I got into pain in the middle of a race, I could practice my breathing, focus on changing my body position and how I think and activate a muscle or relax a muscle, and the pain would go away just like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what just happened
Wow.
here? I'm like, okay, I got to get in pain again so I can figure this out and see if I can reproduce this. And then, okay, what other pains can I do this with? And so that's how I got started. And then it was like, okay, what was the process that I used to help myself get out of this situation? And how do I start teaching it to people? And that's
Mm.
when I started shifting a lot in 2014 to developing this approach and just playing with it, a lot of experimenting on myself and then patients. And then I left the clinic in 2018 to go travel the world because that's when I was like, I finally get it.
Wow,
And
that's fantastic.
now I got to help people. I got to get this
Yeah.
message out. So,
And there was a period of time I know in talking with you that there were, some of the local area physicians didn't quite get what you were
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
That they didn't want, even though here you are a doctor, you've had a doctorate, and they're saying, well, so what was that like? I mean, that must have been kind of like almost like a kick in the butt. Like, why can't they recognize that I have something that's not
Yeah.
mainstream?
Yeah. I have to tell you, I used to cry almost every day. I would go home
Oh,
and cry, and I am not kidding about that. I Helping people is so important to me, especially when I know I can do something to get them better. It's just I have to have the no constraints to be able to teach them something new. And I had physicians that would come back at me and say, if you teach breathing one more time, I'm never sending you another client, another patient.
seriously, they said that to you.
Absolutely. Don't
Oh
you
my
dare
goodness.
teach any of my patients anything about breathing. Don't you put a balloon in their mouth. Don't put a straw in their mouth. And there was one physician at Barrow's Neurological Institute who I worked with one of his patients, and I knew the patients from before who had a nerve injury that was expected to take a couple years to fix. And it was a baseball player, not professional, but still a very serious baseball player who needed this help. And so I started working with this person, and the neurologist was shocked out of his mind. He's like, this person is getting better faster than anything I've ever seen with a nerve injury. And we just worked and worked and worked and got much better. And he recovered probably 99%, probably 100% at that point. And the doctor's like, I'm going to start sending you all my hard, weird cases that I've never dealt with that no one else can fix. And that led to another opportunity. I'll just tell you real quick, where I had a lady who she had high level TV personnel and had numbness and tingling down the arm, was scheduled for a neck surgery. And they were going to go in and fuse, cut her open. She was scheduled, and she was told that she had to come see me and she was scheduled for a surgery a couple months out. Come see me just to help her get through the next several months. And so when I saw her, I said, what are your goals? She's like, if I could have surgery tomorrow, I would. And I said, well, what would you like me to help you with? And she said, I just need to get through the next several months until I could have surgery. And I said, well, what if you don't have to have surgery? What if we get rid of the pain, the numbness, the tingling? What would that feel like? What would that do for you? And she's like, that's not a possibility. I said, I want you to just give me a chance. What I'm going to teach you is going to be weird. It's going to be counterintuitive. It's going to go against all the recommendations you've been taught your whole entire life since you were a little kid all the way till now, all the professionals. It's going to go against pretty much anything anyone's told you. But I said, guess what? Everything that everyone's told you right now has led you to this spot where you're about to get your neck sliced open and fused. I said, wow. I want to teach you something that will give you control over your body and the freedom to make your own choices again, but it's going to be different. And she said, okay, I'll do it. You know, what else do I have to lose? I mean, at this point. And so I saw her maybe once a week or once every other week. And, you know, she's busy flying all over the country. And within a month, I mean, she started feeling a difference right away. I expect everyone I work with to feel a difference right away. But within a month, she's like, oh my God, I don't need this surgery. And she canceled it. And that was back in 2017. So she hasn't had that surgery. And can you imagine the recovery from that surgery, the possible complications, the restrictions in her neck had she had to have some cervical vertebrae fused? Yeah. I mean, just the thought of all those things makes me nauseous because there are so many people. I have more stories, rotator cuffs, ACLs, and now it's branched off into I help people with stress, anxiety attacks, panic attacks now, and I can do it virtually. So I can help anyone around the world. But just imagine that you learn the skills that gives you control over all of this, that you have the freedom to make decisions, and you're not making decisions out of fear anymore. You're not saying, oh, you know what, I can't go do this because my body hurts or I have this anxiety. But instead you're like, I have this tool. I can make that decision now. I mean, it frees you up to go travel, to have interactions, to play a sport, to walk differently, you name it. And so that's why I am on this mission. And I reach out to people that I know who have audiences, like, please just let me talk to people. I'll help them. I'll get them started. And then if they need more attention one-on-one, I'm here for them for that as well.
That's fantastic. I wanted to bring up a comment. This is a very dear friend of mine, an exceptional coach who was part of my mastermind about 5 years ago, Gail Vilcu. Gail says, I totally understand that point of frustration when working on the alternative round. Good for you for sticking to your truth and beliefs in what is possible for others. Yay! Yeah. Thank you, Gail, for that comment. And your friend Tiffany before sent you a heart. And anyway, and our good friend Tracy in there. So yeah, really, really awesome, Dr. Amy. And I am a patient of yours now. And I'm blessed to say that. It's one of the many reasons I've been involved. Oh my gosh. Hey, Gail, help me out. How many years have I been doing coaching? It's over 10 years. And Gail and I met real early on in my career. When I started finishing all my coach training with Tony Robbins, and I went on to the hypnotherapy which we're going to talk about, by the way. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's a tongue twister. Neuro-linguistic programming, which is, you talked about flip the switch. That's the stuff when you flip it here and helps you recognize and heal. I want to bring this up because a lot of people don't like certain people in the industry because they say that God wouldn't want you to do this. I got to tell you, I love God. I love the belief in God. I love everything about God. I am a believer, true believer. And I know God created us this way. And science used to be what they say, oh, that's weird science. Well, weird science ain't so weird no more, because reality has come up to standards where they have done enough study and enough testing to prove that the human body is an amazing machine that has the ability to heal itself with the right modality. So I'm not violating any rules here, kids, about, and I'm not going to go down that road of talking about religion or politics. And that's not what this show Get Real is all about anyway. But it is getting real with what is real, what we can do to help ourselves. And when you get the opportunity to take advantage of an amazing doctor online who says, hey, I know you got cancer and you've got double neuropathy in your feet and your legs because you told me during the show last weekend, you told us, we asked you. I says, what do you mean you can work with me? And I'm completely behind the online premise because my coaching was 99.9% online. I actually brought people into beta state of hypnosis online and helped them get rid of the root cause of all their negative beliefs and their debilitating self-talk, etc. And I'm a believer. And I ain't a monkey, as they used to say. Monkeys just say, hey, I'm a believer. I am a believer in what you do, Amy. I'm a believer in your mythology because it works for me. So when I can say that, I can jump for joy because it's an opportunity. Gail and I had a wonderful call earlier, and it was talking about the chakra, and how the chakras, if they're not in correct alignment and energy, etc., the disease comes into the body as well. So that's another line. Wait a second here. We got something for you. Here you go. You can read that one.
Oh, nice. So Tiffany says, I've been working with breath and it saved my life from taking pills, and now I'm facilitating others. Thank you for your stories. I'm so glad to hear that, Tiffany, because that is another huge topic, is getting people off medication. So I am a firm believer to minimize as many chemicals as possible in our bodies, because no matter what, there are side effects. Even if we can't feel them, there are side effects. And I know there are many conditions that require medications to keep us alive, but there are many conditions like pain and blood pressure where we can work on controlling it and help reducing the medications. I've plenty of stories, and just like yours, I'm so glad that you shared that, because more people need to hear that when you can work on your breathing and change the way that you sense and feel and heal, you can get rid of medications, which, besides the benefits of having no side effects from not taking medication, it's also a monetary thing too. It can add up quite a bit. So there's that as well.
While we're talking about that, I want to hit the nail on the head. Tomorrow morning is my 3-month checkup with my oncologist, and I go in at 9 a.m. to the Florida Cancer Center, and it's a nerving experience. It really is. Even for me, the coach, even for me, the guy that's helped hundreds of people get over their CRAP, and help flip the switch and live a better life because they recognize where those things came from that plagued them, and now they can deal with them head on. I sit down in the chair to get my blood work done every time, and my blood pressure goes whoop, and it goes up. And I have my trusty phone, my Android, that tells me my blood pressure and everything, and I check it before I go in the door. Then I see what he's saying. I say, you don't need to do that. I know what it's going to be already.
Yeah.
And interesting thing is, my left arm is different than my right arm.
That's normal.
And well, some of them don't think so. And I agree with you, because I looked it up. I said, what am I, an abnormality or something? It is definitely different because one's closer to the heart than the other. Correct. I mean, that's where it's at. So, and you're right about the medications. I'm on 2 medications, and they say it's what's going to keep me alive for a sustained period of time, even though I was told in 2017, July 2017, I was going to, I had a ticket to ride up. I wasn't going to be here after 6 months to a year. And then, of course, some of the highest counts on record as far as what they call the counts of prostate cancer went down to 0.1. And they shook their head within 6 months. How did you? What? No surgery, by the way, no chemo, and no radiation.
Yeah.
So I'm like a walking one for the history books to these oncologists.
Miracle.
They can't quite figure me out. Well, that's okay. They can keep trying, but I try to explain to them there's other ways of healing.
Yeah.
And they truly don't want to believe it. Faith and prayer is certainly helpful, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, that doesn't work, but I can tell you it does. Also, this is, I'm going to call it critical, because we're in a phase in our human existence where we're in critical mass right now, is what I call it, where we've got so much going on mentally and physically. Bad food. I mean, how many people show up the middle of the grocery store? Not me. Walk around the outside if you got to go. Better yet, go to local. Get local produce. If you're going to eat meats, make sure it's grain fed and make sure it's farm raised and it's classified organic. There is so much going on in that. We could go on. We'll talk about it. But I personally had to make those adjustments, and we had a pretty healthy diet. I think it's probably the why it was much easier for me to get going in that direction.
Good.
So it's amazing when you think about it. How can a doctor say that you're going to be dead in 6 to 12? So I guess those are statistics, right? From a doctor's point of view.
Right. And they look at a lot of different things, how aggressive the disease is when they say it's stage 4, how far has it infiltrated different areas of your body.
Yeah. Yep.
But what they don't consider is our human ability to heal is phenomenal. And most often we don't even know the potential of it. And so if we meet the right people who help us along in that journey of healing, we gain tools that push us ahead of those statistics and get us out of those statistics so we don't become one of them like you. And so you've done that. You've accomplished that. You've made changes that have allowed you to say, you know what, cancer? Hold on. I'm not ready to go because I still have more things to do in this world and to touch people and to make an impact in this world. And so you're still here for a reason. And we all are cherishing that, and we're very grateful for that. And what you're doing now is you're helping people learn about alternatives and how to change your life. And you're impacting so many people just even today. And I'm grateful that you're letting me talk to people, but you took the right steps. And so a lot of people need to hear your story so that way they can start making changes, because we know your life is the way it is based on the decisions you have right now. So if you want it to change, you have to change your life choices. So you did that, and guess what? You're here.
Well, thank you very much for that. I could be tongue-tied on that one. I'm going to have deep gratitude and thank you for that to you. I agree with you. And that's not to say I'm walking around like this. I know when the doctors have said we don't quite get it. The PSA count is what they utilize for prostate cancer, and I was told that mine was 957 out of the top count of 1,000, so I was very high scale. It was also metastasized to my liver and my colon, and they took those findings and said, "This is it. You're out of here." And we showed them that ain't true, because I'm still here. A year later, I had the pleasure, and I wasn't rude about it, to go back, and I had to get a sign-off because of insurance from that original urologist. Very nice man. Great surgeon, by the way. He looked at me. He looked at the chart. I says, "You remember me, doctor?" He goes, "Yes, sir, Mr. Miller, I do." He says, you seem to be doing great. He said, "But I got to be honest with you. I've got to give you the real test. I mean, I've got to see." I said, "Okay." Over the table I went, and he checked, and he said, "Whoa." He said, I almost might say better than normal. I said,
Yeah.
thank you very much. He said, you're feeling great? I said, I do. And I put my hand out to shake his hand. And he said, what's this? I said, I want to thank you. And I mean, really thank you, because you woke me the frig up about making sure that I'm eating healthy, making sure I'm getting the proper exercise. I dropped 20 pounds in that 6 months. All of the things, and scared the living you know what right out of me to start to realize that every second of every moment of every day is so valuable. And we have to utilize that to the best we can possibly do. So if you have a message to share, you best get it out there. You best get it out there and share it. We've got a couple of oh, I want to yeah, Gail says she totally agrees with you, Amy, on that one. This next one I'm going to bring up. This is from Tracy, and Morgan is one of my brothers. Tracy does tons to help people and to help raise money for zero prostate, and zero. Oh my gosh, I could cry. It blocks our screen.
It does.
So it says, Dr. Amy, like Jeff, I'm an advanced stage 4 prostate cancer patient with a lot of bone mets. I set a goal last year to run the next 5K. Never been a runner or liked running. I have been training for 6 months and just now am getting close to being able to run at the 12-minute pace. This has been the hardest thing I've ever done. I have no testosterone from my treatments, and I don't know if this is the why I've had such a hard time with this. Your breathing certainly interests me. Well, Tracy, you're gonna get to actually see it and know about it, and have an opportunity to work with Dr. Amy. We're gonna be talking about that shortly. It is. I'm going to say I'm in amazement still, because sometimes these things still just kind of go, ooh, and give you the chills, so to speak, and the hair rises up on my arms, because this is real. This is where, let's get real. This is where it's all about, because a lot of people are suffering out there. And a lot of it is needless. And if you would, for a minute, think about what Tracy just said. I'll put it back up if you want. That's the biggest issue. In a male at a certain age, our testosterone hangs around too long. And a lot of these guys are taking pills to try to boost their testosterone to keep their manliness alive. And here, testosterone is killing us with prostate cancer. It's like a double whammy.
Yeah. And that's true. And so my background's not in the endocrine system, but I do know that, and so I'm not going to speak for any endocrinologists out there, but I do know that because its testosterone levels are on the lower side, it's going to affect some of your energy. But there are things that you can do outside of that. So switching to a plant-based diet that gives you, so that everything you put inside you, and make sure it's organic, everything you put inside you gives you nutrition, so that you're not wasting energy digesting, animal products, which are harder for our body to digest, or digesting things that are processed and not organic, that have chemicals in them. So if you are spending time and energy digesting things like that, that's going to take away some of your energy. So the other thing is switching to plant-based. That can help get you some energy. The other aspect too is, I haven't seen you in person, Tracy, but the way that you hold your body will determine how effective you use your diaphragm and how you breathe and get oxygen in. So a lot of people out there, especially people who have been sick, have any chronic issues, who are under high levels of stress, they breathe in a way where they're used to lifting up their rib cage, and then they aren't using their diaphragm as much, and so it gets you in this fight or flight mode, and you're in a hyper stress mode, which increases your cortisol levels, increases your inflammation, and so your whole breathing pattern actually changes to one that's not as efficient. So the way that you can tell is if when you take a breath in, do your shoulders lift up? Does your rib cage lift up? Do you feel your head tilting back when you take a breath in? Those are ways. Do you feel your whole trunk lift up? Those are ways that you can tell, and you can do this in front of the mirror and say, oh gosh, I am not using my diaphragm to inhale. because if you are doing all those things, that means you are lifting up your ribs to try to create space for air to come in. Instead, your diaphragm, it's like a dome, and the dome is supposed to contract down on the side walls. When it does that, it creates negative space for air to flow into. So when I inhale, I'm going to inhale right now. You didn't see me need to lift anything up because I used my diaphragm and I let the diaphragm, the dome, drop down, and I supported it using my side abs, which keep my ribs into position to provide the support for the diaphragm to work. But when we're taught chest out, shoulders back, and then you're in this fight or flight mode because that nervous system lies in your back. As soon as you do this, you kick that in, and now when you breathe in, I just breathe in, you could see my chest lift up, my shoulders tensed up because I was in fight or flight mode, and my ribs are lifted up. But now if I get my ribs down into position and now the side abs are pulling them down, and now the side abs are supporting the diaphragm, when I inhale, I didn't have to lift up when I got air in. And so Tracy, and I work with runners as well with this to help them run with ease. I would really work with your breathing. I mean, I would love to work with you one-on-one as well, but you can just sit there just right now as I'm describing. You can try this when you are just sitting. What will happen is you'll then notice what's happening when you're running. Most likely you're lifting up and there's a lot of tension in your body just related to the stresses of daily life, the fact that you're going through cancer, you're going through cancer treatments. All of those things have altered your breathing and the way that you breathe. I guarantee you don't breathe the same way as you did when you were a little kid. When we're a little kid, our ribs are down, our belly's out, we're roly-poly. But just like with walking, all the stressors of your life affect the way you walk now as when you're a kid. Same thing happens when you're breathing. All the stressors of your life alter and change the way you breathe because you don't even hold your body in the same position. So most people don't realize that. They're like, oh, I breathe as long as I have oxygen in, that's all that matters. Mm-mm. The breathing is the most important thing you have that you have control over to affect how you feel and how you live and what you do with your body. We just don't even know that that's a tool that we have available to us because all we care about typically is, do I have enough oxygen to keep me alive? And then, hospitals monitor it with your little O2 sat meter and say, okay, you're at above 95%, you're good enough, your breathing's good enough. That's not necessarily the case. It's how you breathe that is really impactful and can determine whether or not your body can heal. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Amy. I mean, that goes for Tracy, goes for me too, because I will agree with you. Breathing has become a little bit more of a difficult thing, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what, and now I know what to attribute it to. I did not know. So now I do know, which is fantastic. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I actually, we had talked about whether you wanted to do, you just explained it. Did you actually want to do, if, for those that, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, please do us a favor. Give us a shout out. Let us know. I got another comment coming up here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There you go. That's Tracy.
It can do wonders for you, Tracy. Really
and
can.
Also from Tiffany. We breathe just enough to maintain, but we don't have enough to heal when we need it.
Absolutely.
How valuable is that stuff, guys? So, Dr. Amy, I know how the technique works, and we just heard the explanation. Would you care to walk us through the park, so to speak? And guys, this is valuable. Yeah. This is the one. This is the one that got me hooked on this lady. To the point where I said, what do we do to work together, Dr. Amy? Because I believe, based on what you did for me that day, it's just, and so we had a call and we talked about that and what it would take for me to work with you. And I said, amen, let's do this. The other thing I had to talk about, and I want to bring this up because I mentioned the word hypnotherapy a little while ago. The word actually was mesmerize in the early days. And there was a doctor named Dr. Mesmer. And Dr. Mesmer used to, what they termed and classified as mesmerize people to help them overcome, all kinds of things. And they thought he was like turning people into zombies, because we're talking a lot of years ago, when in truth what he was doing, he was getting into the subconscious mind very quickly with somebody in about the beta state, which is somewhere in the realm of where you go to sleep, right on the cusp. It's like you're floating on the cloud. And when we go there, we are open and suggestive to listen to things to help us overcome certain things that are really affecting us on a mental state that are in subconscious. Now, when I say that, I say it to the point of, no, we're not going to do stage hypnosis. You're not going to cluck like a duck and all these silly things. But that is what people think of hypnosis. They think that's what it is. That's the sad part of hypnosis. I'm going to call it that, because people sit and go to an auditorium. Although it did help me quit smoking a lot of years ago, I'll tell you that. I used to think the guy that rode the horse and smoked Marlboros was a real great guy until he died of cancer, you know. But that was my generation, and then everybody smoked back then. They thought it was okay. They didn't know, or if they knew, they didn't want to tell us it caused cancer. But that's a whole other story. This situation is when we go to a place of relaxation and open our mind up to a certain degree, we allow ourselves to go back to subconscious and bring things up. Now, I want to be very honest with you. I did not know what the real technique of Dr. Amy was, but when I recognized, after speaking to my dear wife about how I had been that whole day, and not once did I think of being tired, not once did I feel exhausted, not once did I even, other than I had a great day. I was like on top. I was in my A game. I was like, yeah, I had an awesome day, great training. And I kind of attributed it to that until all of a sudden it was like snapping fingers. And I went, oh my gosh, does Dr. Amy utilize a little bit of hypnosis in there? Because she might have mesmerized me. And when this is really good, guys. When Amy and I spoke for the first time, we talked about it all, and I talked about what it is she does, because I'm really curious now, right? I want more of this. And she says, "No, I don't do hypnosis." I said, "Oh, yes, you do." And I'm laughing about it. Look at, she's laughing too, because she went, "Really?" So I want to talk about, let's bring up Robert Kiyosaki. This is a real good one. Go ahead,
Yes,
talk to us
funny.
about that.
So I don't know if you guys know who Robert Kiyosaki is, but he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's a top financial author in the world, sold over 40 million copies of this book. And I am known to take chances, and I happened to be on a cruise event with him. I was learning about personal development and investing and just trying to broaden my knowledge on that world. And I met the head of this group, the real estate guys, Russ Gray, and I were talking, and he pointed out Robert to me, and he said, "Now there's a guy who needs some help." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." Like, this world famous guy. I mean, he had people coming up to him all the time on the cruise. I mean, he was always surrounded by someone. So he had a book signing for his book, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go, because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad several times, and it really was impactful on me to get my self in gear to be an entrepreneur. And I went up to him and I asked him to sign it. I said, "I just want to thank you. Your book really did change my life." And he said, "Really? What do you do?" I said, "Well, I help people get out of pain, and I change the way they breathe and position their body to help calm their nervous system down." He said, "Really? Can you help me with my pain?" I said, "Sure." Here's me, nobody. And I said, "Anytime you want. We're on the cruise for the next 5 days or whatever, anytime you want." He's like, "Okay, I'll reach out to you." I said, "Sure." So the next day, that was one evening. The whole next day, I'm listening to lectures, stuff like that. And that night, it's like 9:30 at night. It's after dinner, and we all eat together at different tables. And here he came up to our table with a couple other people, and he looked at me. He's like, "So when are you going to help me get out of pain?" And of course, everyone at the table, their mouths just dropped open, like, who is this person that he is addressing and actually seems to know. And I just looked at him. I said, anytime you want, I am free. You know, I can help you right now. He's like, sure, let's go. I looked at my table. I said, screw you all. Bye. And I did it laughing. And so they knew I wasn't serious. You know, I was just joking around. And they're like, go, go, go. And so I took him to a part of the cruise where I could just sit down and explain to him what I would do and how I could help him. And so I went through the breathing process with him, and he almost fell asleep in my lap. He was so relaxed. And when I pulled him out of it, he's like, I feel so much better. And I said, you know, I'm here. We have 3 more days. If you want help, I am here to help you. And so next day we met in the gym, and I can tell you this because in a minute I'll tell you that story. But I had him lay on the floor of the gym on a mat. And so I was taking him through this process. And at the time we were in a pandemic, so I could put my hands on him and guide him through it. And he fell into a really deep sleep. Like, he was out. I mean, there was someone from the cruise ship, one of the workers, that came over to me and is like, is he okay? And I'm like, totally fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, and there were people that were within our group that were all working out on the gym. Some people were taking photos of this, which luckily didn't go anywhere. They kept it private. They were very respectful. But I finished with him, and it took me a lot to wake him up. I'm like, wake up, Robert, wake up. And he's like, I felt like I was in such a deep sleep and my pain is just going away. And so then the next day, I kept hearing from people that he is going around the ship looking for his body healer, that he wanted to talk to me. And so he found me at lunch. He walks into the VIP area where I was sitting with some people, and he sat down across from me. He's like, I finally found you. And I said, well, I am here and ready for you. What can I do? And he's like, I slept for the first time without pain in over a year. He's like, I
Oh, what a
was
blessing.
out. And he's like, I can't get over that. He's like, when can we do another session? I said, you let me know. And we looked at the schedule, and he was very grateful. And he can be a controversial figure. I have to say, like, I know him as a human being. He is a sweetheart. Granted,
I've
I
heard
was
that, yes.
doing something to help him, but we all need help, no matter what level of business and wealth you're in. Sometimes you want someone that you can just talk to and relate to and just get their help. And he was good. He was ready to pay me for that. And I was like, you know what? This is my gift to you. People take from you all the time. I want you to be pain-free while we're on this cruise, because you're presenting to all these people that paid a lot to have you come. And I know if I can get you pain-free, you're going to be able to do what you love to do. And this is my gift for you for that. And it was really interesting because we had a session where he's really notorious for doing a book study and ripping people apart for not reading well. He was like a pussycat, just like chill and talk about life and health. It was so funny.
That's fantastic.
And so I've worked with many CEOs and other, billionaires and stuff, where I've helped them calm down. And it's the thing that we need someone that can guide us in our health, that we can trust and know that this person is really helping us. They're not just trying to like steer us away. And I was teaching him stuff that he could do for himself. I wasn't applying something to him. I was helping him learn. And that was the big thing. And he's so important. Kiyosaki is so into learning, and that's what I was helping him do. So
that's fantastic. What a beautiful story. And of course the gift in that is you gave him the gift, and I, and eventually I'm sure a lot of people, he probably said, listen, if you want to get rid of the stresses and stuff that's going on, you need to see Dr. Amy. That's fantastic. Yeah. That is fantastic. I love that story, and that's a real one, guys. That's the truth. I just think it's absolutely beautiful to hear that type of a healing. I know what you've done for me in a very short period of time, and we've had our intro, so to speak, since that first time we spoke. We've had one intro, and ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to say I'm going to be working with Dr. Amy for at least 3 sessions. Now, can we give them a little taster so they get a little breathing in? All right.
Absolutely. And so what I'm going to do is just teach you the very, very, very basics. Words going like the tip of the iceberg, just to give you something to start practicing. With one-on-one, there's a lot more that I teach you, but I want to at least get you started so you have a little bit of a taster for this. So what we're going to do, I'm going to adjust my screen a little bit. And we're going to have you sit back in a chair. Get your low back all the way back into a chair. No pillow behind it. I want you to relax yourself all the way back. Let your tailbone roll under you a little bit and have your feet flat on the ground. This will help get us set up for being as relaxed as possible. If you have a straw, you can use a straw for it. And I take a regular straw and I just cut it in half. And we'll use it and I'll demonstrate with the straw. But the other thing that I want you to do to get yourself set up, so let your shoulders drop and let your belly out. I can't stress that enough. When you suck your gut up and in, you lift up your ribs and increase the tension in your body. Let your belly out so you can learn how to get your ribs to drop down using your side abdominal muscles. This will change the way you breathe and it will help you get some freedom in your body and reduce the stresses in your life and in your chest. Okay, so with the breathing, if you have a straw, you'll use that. If you don't have one, imagine you have one in your mouth. And so when you are blowing out, we are going to have you make that O shape with your mouth, like that. Okay, and we're going to go through 4 steps for breathing. This is just going to be very simplistic just to get you going. And then I'm going to demonstrate and then I'll coach you guys for just a couple minutes. So step 1 will be breathing in through the nose. Then we'll pause a second, blow out through the mouth, then hold your breath and pause 3 seconds. And then we just repeat in through the nose, pause a second, blow out through the mouth, then hold your breath and pause 3 seconds. So what I'm telling you, those 4 steps, it's just the very beginning. There's 1,000 more things that we go through with this process, but I want to get you going. So I'm going to do this with the straw here. Here we go. Okay, so as you could see, when I was inhaling, I was using my diaphragm because I wasn't lifting everything up. Then when I was exhaling, I don't know if you could notice that my chest was dropping down just slightly as I was deflating. But the other part is my belly button was coming out. Most of us suck in when we blow out, and what that does is lift everything up. I ask you to let your belly out so your ribs can drop down so that they get in the position. So when you inhale, you learn how to use your diaphragm. So now I just want to coach you guys for a couple minutes here and have you practice this just so you get a little taster. So we're going to put one hand on your chest, and I call it your sternum, your breastbone, just right over your sternum. The other hand right over your belly button. Relax all the way back into the chair, feet flat on the ground. And we're going to have you breathe in through your nose, pause, and blow out. Hold your breath. 2, 3, gentle breath in your nose. Pause and blow out. Hold. 2, 3, gentle breath in your nose, thinking about filling up your throat. Pause and blow out. Let your chest drop away from your hand. Let your belly spill out as you exhale. Hold. 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, thinking about air filling your throat. Pause and blow out. Feel your chest drop down and in. Feel your ribs drop down towards your hips. Your belly spills out and your low back relaxes into the chair. Hold. 2, 3. Gentle breath in your nose to your throat, thinking about the air gently going in. Pause and blow out. Let your chest drop down and in. Let your ribs drop down and your belly spill out. Hold. 2, 3, and take a break. So that was I just wanted to just give you a little taster on how to do that. And that is the basis of much, much more of learning how to get your body in the correct position. Remember, while you breathe sitting is different from how you breathe standing, from lying on your back, from lying on your side, from being on your hands and knees, from when you're squatting. So all those positions, your anatomy changes, gravity changes, the accessory muscles you use change. And so what we're working on is how to get you to use your diaphragm in all those positions. And if we can get you away from using the accessory muscles, those muscles learn how to relax. The tension in your chest goes away, the tension in your shoulders, your neck goes away. And all of a sudden, those parts are free to move, and they can move easily and fluidly while you're breathing instead of being tight and everything working to try to provide stability. Whereas when we're tightening everything up, we're actually losing mobility and we're losing stability because we're not allowing something to move in the way it was intended to move. And so if we do get that part to move, a lot of times there's impingement and other issues just because instead of separating our breathing from our arms and legs or head movement, we use those things to make us breathe. So then it stiffens us up. So there's a whole process to learning this, but we break it down into step by step. So that way you have successes, and I expect you to feel something different every time that you work with me. And so there's a progression of things depending on what your goals are, whether it's pain, stress, anxiety, sleep deprivation, mobility, strength, endurance, some type of athletic event or sports, whatever. Either any of those ways, it can help. And so I am here for you. Jeffrey?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Every time you do that, I feel better, and I just on an ad lib for a second. I have a very, very good dear friend of mine from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Michelle Richardson just popped in. I guess it's time to get up on the down under side. It's probably, let's see, it's probably around 6 a.m. in the morning, 6:30 a.m., something like that. Mm-hmm. Michelle is a personal trainer. Very, very, very up on. I know she's loving. Michelle, if you're still here, type something into chat for us. I don't know that we can hear your Australian accent, but it'd be fun anyway. That is that. Every time you do that, every time I witness that and I go through that, I just go, oh, it's. They call it like a breath of fresh air, Dr. Amy, because the cause and effect. In other words, I feel the way I feel because I have something wrong between double neuropathy from my toes to my knees, which is a pain in the all by itself, and then add the other stuff on top of it. And, prayerfully, I'm hoping that I get off some of this medicine after my checkup tomorrow. And I want to do more natural. And I've heard you say plant-based a number of times, and I'm about 75% there. Lunchtime today, after having a cold cut sandwich, I said, no more. No more. We're not doing this anymore, Emily. We're not going to eat this way anymore. We'll have our bigger meal at noon, middle of the day. It'll be, we eat fresh. Florida is amazing because we get all fresh, organic, pesticide-free produce year round. Good. Between fruits and veggies. It's amazing here. I imagine, I don't know, you're in the high country right now. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Emily's in Sedona, Arizona, Red Rock, as we call it. And you want to talk about a healing place. Woo! I can't wait for you to open up your new office there because we're coming out. We're going to be there.
Yeah.
And I've had the pleasure of seeing the countryside when you've been out on one of your walks, Emily too, and what the views and everything going on there is just amazing. But guys, get in touch with Dr. Amy. This is life-changing without the high cost of a doctor. I mean, oh, wait a minute, you are a doctor. What am I talking about? But without that high cost, clinically, when Amy's in office and you come and sit in her office, there's a different world. Okay, but right now, because of what we've been going through, she's been wanting to reach out, and not that you weren't before, because you were. She is reaching such a vast audience now because of this online stuff that we're all doing. And it has been fantastic. I mean, it's how we met, because if the guys had not gone, Kyle and Ron, to the online, I believe we still would have met, but I just don't know when. So synchronicity played up in this, and here we are, right? So I want to hear. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree. I'm so grateful. I mean, I've met so many amazing people just during this lockdown, so no complaints from me.
Yeah, and guys, let's hear some oohs and ahs about how amazing that was, huh? Type into chat, please. Let's put it in there. I'll bring you up on screen. I don't have the opportunity to bring you on live with us, or I might. In a future call, we will bring a guest or two online. I have the capability of doing that. I've just not pushed those buttons yet. And since things are going good, I had a little mess up in the beginning, but not sure quite what happened there. But anyway, all good. So anybody have anything else they would like to ask? Q&A time, guys. And we are over an hour, but I don't care. We schedule these shows for an hour, but it does not matter. We're here. If you get some questions or something you'd like to say, to reach out, I'm going to bring up the banner again. So I put the earbud back in my ear. Here we go. Let's see. There we go. All right. There's a contact information for Amy. Reach out to her. I know she has. If you have stayed with us live, I'm using those four letters, LIVE. If you've stayed with us live to the end, you want to reach out to Dr. Amy, because she's going to have a special opportunity for you to work with her.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so anyone who emails me and tells me that they've heard me on this show, I will offer a free 15-minute discovery consultation, and we can talk about you, and no charge. We'll spend some time getting to know each other and how I could help you and just give you some tips. And so that is something I want to offer to all of you guys that are listening today. I really appreciate your time and attention and your loyalty to Jeff here. I know that he does great work, and so I just want to show my appreciation and gratitude. So.
Well, thank you, Dr. Amy. This has been just amazing, and this is the first of many to come. I have, behind the scenes, guys, asked Dr. Amy to co-host with me on Let's Get Real on occasion, because she has such a vast amount of knowledge to bring forward. We didn't even touch on the pandemic today.
Yeah,
it wasn't really totally in the cards today. But a lot of people have got it on the tip of their tongue. And in another show coming up very soon, we're going to only to the degree that I don't want to hear the scuttlebutt about the politics. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear, well, this never should have happened. We can appreciate all of that. What we want to hear from you guys on a future show, and come on the show and be able to ask the question, I feel like crap being locked in my house for 2 months. What should I do? There have been some very sad stories about people that have totally lost it because of this pandemic. Mm-hmm. They just don't know how to handle having to stay away from people. Social distancing is one thing, but we're not supposed to be socially separated. And with this beautiful advent of the internet over the years, we shouldn't be. But a lot of people weren't aware of that they could get on a call and have that live call with somebody. They just kind of weren't. So there's been some sad stories. We're going to talk to people about that, because a lot of people are stressed. Dr. Amy, you've talked to me about stress, and I know personally what it can do. It creates the aches and the pains, and it creates an adverse effect in your entire body and your entire skeletal. If you want to talk about stress just for a minute, just to touch on that a bit.
Yeah, sure. So what I talk to people about is, think of all the stressors you have in your life. work, finances, personal relationships, children, parents, physical stresses. Now we add driving. Now we add in pandemic stresses. Every stressor that you have in your life kicks in your fight or flight nervous system. When that happens, it kicks in your cortisol levels and muscles throughout your body tighten up. What happens after that is if you don't recognize how to relax your body back down into what I call parasympathetic relaxation, your body adjusts to that new normal of stresses. And that tension you felt in your body that showed up, you all of a sudden don't really notice it. And then another stressor comes on top of that, and another one, and another one. And you just gradually get used to that. And then you hit a threshold. Once you get past that threshold, things start to happen. Adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, something just hit, and you have no idea what happened. I know this for a fact because it happened to me after my mom passed away and my dad almost died 2 weeks later. Like I got to a point where I was like, I am done. And I had to pull myself out of it. I used this breathing and running to help me do that. But I got to the point where my stress levels hit a threshold. I was in fight or flight mode all the time. And my body said, no more. And so what happens is you have to get yourself back down to relax to the levels down here, so where you have that freedom and you have control again. And it took me some time, and that's part of my journey of figuring all this out. Was I used the breathing and repositioning the body to get myself out of that crisis mode. And so that's why talking about this in the pandemic, and I'm working on sharing this to as many people and many audiences as possible, is because we're hitting our threshold. We need the skills and the tools to come out of that. And if you have one that's built into your internal wiring, you just need to find the right person, someone like me, who can give you those tools and teach you how to do it, so then you can be the best version of yourself, so that you can focus on the things that provide you that life and energy again. And so then you're not focusing on all the things that drain you and take away your life, but make you into, I love to do this or create this. That's what we want. So when you think about something that might be good to do, is list your stressors and say, okay, when this happens to me, do I feel a physical effect in my body? Yes or no? And you'll be able to tell. I was talking to a friend this morning. She's like, I have no stresses in my life, but I have this anxiety. And I went through and I named all the stresses in her life. And she's like, oh gosh, you're right. And so sometimes we don't even realize something that's considered a stressor that puts us over that threshold. So I ask you guys, please reach out to someone like me or someone else in your life that can help you, give you these various tools to calm you back down. And it's not just calm you down, but can you sense yourself calming down? That's the key, is what do you sense? And that's part of the skills that we work on.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Dr. Amy. And I know we went over the hour, but you know what? I think we needed to. That was fantastic. So that's more information for another day, guys. As soon as we can come together, share the love. Please share this to your page. You can do that. You can go to the I Am Radio TV Network page. You can go to iamradiotvnetwork.com. And see this will go instantly to that for replay. Share it with your friends. I mean, we all know somebody, because we all know a lot of people, but we all know somebody who really needs this. And, you know, I started with memoir. And by the way, if you have friends that are French or Spanish, Dr. Amy is fluent in those languages. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be something that's going to be huge moving forward, where I'm working together, Dr. Amy, too.
Yeah.
I didn't even touch on that today.
Yeah.
Emily works with, it brings tears to my eyes for these children, orphanages, and they're supported by Haven of Hope International, and she works with them. She's now their a director of communication, and taking care of making sure everything is all the networking is taken care of, and all the everything to do with communication to do with a nonprofit, let's put it that way. And I don't even know what it is, but I say, however, there's feet on the ground. There's leadership in each one of these orphanages that's helping to try to teach these children who've overcoming severe heartache, severe things that have happened to them in their lives. Girls and boys that are left as orphans at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old in countries that don't have a whole lot. And there's plenty of them. And that's what Haven of Hope International does. So we're going to be talking about that more, how we can help them as well. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for saying, yes, I want to be on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm sure everybody, thank you, Dr. Amy.
Thank you.
I haven't figured how to put the clap and the applause on the video thing yet, but I will.
Thank you.
That's coming up. And hang with me right after we end broadcast. I want to talk to you for a few minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us with Dr. Amy. It has been a joy. It has been a pleasure. I can't say that enough. I trust each and every one of you that's been here live has received buku, grande stuff here. I mean, let's be serious. This is huge stuff in helping you overcome the stuff that's going on here and is physically ailing your body. So thanks so much for being with us. I am Jeffrey Miller, the host. Amy is our co-host on upcoming shows. So thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. We love you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.